Welcome back to another episode of J2cast. Prepping.
J2cast. Yes.
That's right. And I believe this is episode
40 something.
48.
48.
I think 48. I believe it's episode 48. Let's see if we can take a quick look here and find out. Because that's good to know.
It is good to know. It's good to let our listeners know.
It is 48.
It is 48.
It is 48.
Spot on, Jeff.
Yes. So thankfully things like this take care of me that way, or else I'd have no idea, since our producer's no good at this. So
yeah, that's true.
Since I am the producer, whatever you want to call that. Right now, today's date is September 10th, and boy, there's a lot going on.
There's an awful lot going on.
We've got. I'm going to switch over to the live feed. For those of you listening on the audio, I'm turning over to. It's a 4-camera feed from Miami, and I have to be careful saying that because where we're at, Miami is not said Miami. It's said Miami.
Yeah, we're a little north of Miami, Oklahoma.
So, but this is Miami, Florida, and we can see the ocean coming in. See the wind blowing. Got one camera there out of West Palm Beach, Naples, that it's just black. I'm not sure where they're in a parking garage or what. They may be in a parking garage. That may be.
Might be.
Then we've got Jacksonville Beach at the pier. Got some gnarly surf coming in there. That's my extent of surfer knowledge right there.
Dude.
Yeah. And then down in Miami, we got some, we can see the water rising around the hotels down there. You look over to the left-hand side of the screen there. I do not, I can't tell. I wish the camera was better. I can't tell if that is, oops, I shouldn't have done that. I can't tell if that's water or asphalt or both.
Well, it's definitely not a safe place to be.
And there's a heck of a headline there. Hurricane Irma will batter Florida and devastate the United States, officials warn. Wow.
It looked one of the projection maps I was looking at looked like the effects of Irma will make it all the way up to the boot heel of Missouri, around the Sykeston area.
I don't doubt that. I definitely think that it's going to keep going, and we missed out on Harvey. It had a slice to it. Yeah. If you were playing golf, it went up and to the right, and we kind of missed out on there. So we've got that. We've got Jose.
Yes, and we have Hurricane Katia formed in the Gulf and has apparently hit parts of Mexico now.
Well, I think Jose, they were saying yesterday, was almost following
Irma's path,
just to make sure that all the people, had enough, I guess. I saw a picture the other day.
Whereas Jose's being the insult to the injury. Yeah,
I saw a picture of Florida, and they had moved it up by Idaho. And it says, we've had enough. But the problem is, there's fires up there.
Yes, there is. There's wildfires, dozens of wildfires, according to the NASA images I was looking at in the western United States, throughout Oregon, Idaho, Montana. Just with the dozens of fires, there's thousands of acres that are burning, homes, people being displaced. It's
and I'm going to be honest.
Hard to imagine.
Being from Kansas, we had some wildfires there a couple years ago. And that made me nervous because I had family out there. Mm-hmm. But it recovers quickly because that's all quick growth grass.
Yeah, there's no trees in Kansas except for on the fence lines.
So I have a good friend of mine that lives in Oregon. And we went hiking out there. Beautiful country. I just can't imagine as the fire rips through there, not only the houses and the businesses, but just the time it's going to take for those trees to grow back,
right?
And all that. And now the ferns and all that, I think will come back pretty quickly. But you're talking long-lasting devastation.
Yeah, you're looking at 60 to 100-year-old trees that are just being consumed by this.
So we're thinking about them too. I know the hurricane makes most of the news because it's you can bleed up to it. It's like, oh, it's almost here. It's almost here. It's almost here.
I think you're able to get more drama out of it as far as the news cycles go.
Oh yeah.
Which shouldn't make our compassion for the people that are being displaced and their losses any less. But I blame our news cycles. They want the what was that Eagle song, Dirty Laundry?
yeah, Don Henley.
Yeah,
Don
Henley. Yeah, it was a solo thing he did on that one. Yeah, that was let us know when the head's dead.
Is he half dead yet and all that? Yeah, it's a great song. I mean, and it's amazing how many newsrooms love that song because it doesn't paint them in a good light, but they embrace it and they.
Well, it's factual.
Yeah, so it's. Now, but this just leads us to the purpose of this whole show, and we're not going to cover a lot of this today because, first of all, we don't want to be here for 4 hours.
No.
Well, we may want to. You don't want us here for 4 hours.
You don't want us to do us for 4 hours.
Secondly, it's a little late now. I mean, I'll be honest. It's people have either left or they've stayed in the hurricane area, and they are doing what they're going to do. So telling them to do something now would be too little, too late.
Unfortunately, it would be, but that's the point of what we're trying to do here, is try to help people make these preparations. Hopefully, inspire people to prepare. Not necessarily for like an alien invasion or zombies or anything like that, but for these types of devastating natural disasters. That we did about a year ago. We did the bug in or bug out type scenarios, and these types of situations do prove what our ultimate thing was if your plan is to bug in, always make it a plan B to be able to bug out, because you might be able to bug in from a zombie invasion, but when a hurricane's removing a third of your state, you might want to consider bugging out.
Well, and like we just had a few weeks ago, talking about even if you do bug in, you may be overcome. You may be ready for the Category 3 hurricane,
right?
But you're not ready for a 5,
right?
So you got to make those calls. And like I said, a lot of things with the overcome by events come into effect here because Hurricane Katrina,
right?
It really wasn't until the levees broke that things got real bad, and so that was overcome by events. You could prepare your house, you could stock up on food, you can do all that, but you can't do anything to if the levees break. That's not your area.
No.
So it's why we're here, and if you're not going to learn anything else from this, I hope you at least learn prepping can keep you safe. If no other reason, it's going to keep you out of the stores and perhaps keep you from getting blown up at the end there. Like this Franklin Horton, the author, put this on. Had somebody put
good friend of the show,
on this, and I'm going to put it on the screen here because this is just dangerous. I mean, this person put themselves, and their everybody else at the gas station in danger. This is not a legit way of carrying fuel. For those of you on the audio cast, there's a lady filling a Home Depot 5-gallon bucket full of gas.
There's 2 buckets sitting.
Yeah, there's one hiding behind there. And
and it looks like she plans on carrying them inside the cab of an SUV. So I think the air quality inside that vehicle may be suffering as well.
And I don't see a lid. I hope there's a lid.
Hopefully they sprung for the lids and aren't just going to try to put like saran wrap and a rubber band around that. But my question about this video, though, is the intent of the photographer. Were they baffled by the idea that somebody was filling these Home Depot buckets with gasoline, or were they just trying to get a cheap shot down the front of this young lady's dress?
Can it be both? Multitasking.
Multitasking. It has sort of fallen out of style. Recently, where whining takes over being productive, and you're multitasking. So I'll give a hat tip to the photographer for his attempt at multitasking.
Now, one thing I will point out is, as somebody who grew up at my dad's gas station, this should not be happening. Now, granted, I don't know where the pumps are related to this gas station, but when you see somebody using this type of thing, you're supposed to shut the pump off.
Right.
This is not a legitimate form. And there looks to be a guy behind her.
Hopefully he's getting the lids.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping, is that he's getting the lids. And I wonder if there's more buckets already in there. He's back there doing something. There's this picture.
Is that an SUV or sedan? But either way,
I don't know.
Air quality is going to suffer.
Yeah. These days with crossovers, SUV, I mean, they're all becoming the same thing. So I wonder why they're still being allowed to pump this into there, unless the gas station is so overrun they've just given up. They just can't keep up.
Well, and to be fair to the gas station, she is concealed by on one side of the gas pump. So if she's using the gas pump as concealment and cover from the gas station attendant, that would be one thing.
The only thing she could do to make this more dangerous is if she was smoking a cigarette. That would really be that's the one.
That would be the icing on that would be the icing on the cake. Yep. That or filling glass jugs. Mm-hmm.
So I really I found that I wanted to go to that. I just say if you prep for no other reason, it's to keep you out of the stores and gas stations with people like that.
Yeah.
If you're already prepped, you're never going to get in a fist fight over a loaf of bread.
I pray that is an experience that we never have to have, unlike the people in Venezuela.
Yeah, so it's just that easy. I've had a friend say, you just go get some water, and what if they're out of water? That's why I like having my preps, because when everybody else is going nuts, I just go down and say, okay, here's where we are, and here's what we're good for, and I appreciate that. So,
speaking of water, I did share on our Facebook page a link to a nifty little device I think I want to get my hands on. It's a solar-powered water bottle that condenses the ambient humidity in the air into drinking water.
I've seen those.
And I think that would definitely, unless you're in an extremely arid region, but you still have some ambient humidity.
Well, I've seen those demonstrated in Utah, mountain biking in Utah.
Yeah.
And if you can do it there, a place like Arkansas,
oh yeah,
you're going to have a lot better luck with.
In Missouri, when you can swim through the air.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Well, Florida, if you're on foot and you're walking, you're refilling your water as you go.
Yeah,
so,
that would be an incredible. Be convenient and nifty now, but for folks in Texas and Florida and whatever else is yet to be affected, could be a life-saving measure.
Also, we've been looking at, we've had 2 coronal mass ejections in the last week.
Yes, we did. On the 6th of September, we had the largest flare in the last 9 years ejected at an X 9.3 and then a smaller X class. And they only go to X class.
The good news is even though they do only go to X class, the X93s, things like that, the good news is in comparison to monumental events,
right?
Like we had one in 2006 that went off the charts,
right?
And they say the Carrington event was about a 23, which is actually off the charts,
right?
So,
well, yeah, the chart only goes to like 10.
Yeah, so
they need to work. They do need to work on that. But fortunately, I don't believe we were in the direct path of this 9.3 X class.
We now have the Korean barbecue guy.
Yeah. The crazy, our crazy Korean neighbor,
threatening to
produce a man-made.
Yeah, produce a man-made CME. So
or EMP.
Well, it'd be EMP, but he wants to.
EMP is a byproduct of a CME with the ABC with the Jackson 5, and
he seems to think that he is the center of the universe, or at least the center of the solar system. So if he ordered it, I guess he would probably think it was a CME.
Well, the strange little fellow does happen to have a spherical shape that does resemble a planetary body, but I don't.
So
I think he's more of a moon.
Yeah. So we have that. So these are all reasons we're getting in the same week of reminding us why we should have food stores, water stores, perhaps a backup generator.
Evacuation plans.
Yeah, keep your vehicles maintenance up to date. That type of thing. But we're not talking about car maintenance today. We're going to be right back. We're going to talk about food preservation, an old-fashioned way, a really old-fashioned way. We're having a friend come in here. Well, we're actually going to go out to a campsite with him, and then we're going to go to his kitchen, and he's going to walk us through pemmican. So hold on to that. We'll be right back. Once again, we're going to do this little segment with our friend Kevin Cargill. He is with the local Society for Creative Anachronisms. I'll say it one more time, Society for Creative Anachronisms, because I wanted to say it once without tripping on it. And he's going to show us a little bit about pemmican, how to prepare it, and then he's going to cook it. I went out with him, and it was interesting. I'm going to roll a little bit of the video here first, and we're going to kind of go over. We went out, and he set up a camp out, and made a little fire. He already had the meat cut up and whatnot, and we're set up to dry the meat over the fire. We got the good smoky flavor to it. Then he put in...
I like the medieval TV tray.
Yeah. He put in the suet, and he melted that down. That melted a lot faster than I expected. I really thought we'd have to work harder at that. Then, of course, tore the basically beef jerky, unseasoned beef jerky, into the small pieces. Got that all ready to go. And then, since we are dealing with a medieval reenactment group, they kind of, at a camp, they decided they were going to instead of mortar and pestle, they're going to use a knife.
Pestle.
Well, I don't care.
Okay.
The mortar and the bowl, or the bowl and the pushy thing. Then they mixed on in the blackberries, I believe it was.
Dried blackberries.
Yeah, dried blackberries. Got it going there, and then went ahead and put that in some wax paper, which, from what I've been reading with pemmican, there's just not many ways you can't store it.
Right. Just don't store it in direct sunlight.
Right, and I like that shot. I really appreciate it. Now we're going to go into his kitchen here. Okay, we're here in your kitchen. We've already done it on the location side of things. And so how are we going to start out first here at doing it at home?
All right, well, the first thing we do is take our dried meat, which is basically just made jerky. The only difference between this and jerky is you want to cut it across the grain instead of with it, so that it breaks apart a lot easier. You don't want that jerk that you'll get with jerky, and it's completely unseasoned, just dry meat. You don't want to add any salt, any seasoning. It'll just create too...
No A1 marinade?
Nothing. Yeah, it'll just be too strong a flavor once it's made into pemmican. So just take the meat, break it up as you can, and throw it in our food processor here. And then we're going to want to grind this down as fine as we can get it. It was described a lot as powder, basically. So as fine as we can get this is what we want to do.
I noticed the batch we made on location, I guess you could say, in the camp, we noticed it was a little bit chunkier, and that's also what I've read is it's very powder-like. It almost forms a loaf.
Yeah.
But
yeah, while we made it in the camp there, we didn't have a proper mortar and pestle, so we kind of tried to make do with the handle of a knife and a wooden bowl, and it just didn't come out as fine as what we would have liked. So I think this is going to be a little better batch. The other one ought to taste just fine. It ought to keep just as long. You weren't quite able to get the good mixture of meat and soot that we want.
I think the larger chunks may make a better stew than the powder.
I think it probably would. I don't know how large a chunks you can get before you start to lose some of the preservation length that you can get. I mean, I assume that has a lot to do with it, that all the meat completely encased and soaked through with soot. Not sure. But for my purposes, as long as I'm going to keep it stored, that'll be plenty. But if done properly with this stuff ground up tight and kept in a cool place out of direct sunlight, it should last 10, 20, even 30 years.
And this is just standard dehydrated meat.
Yep.
Like I said, no additives or anything, but just standard dehydrator.
Yep. Yep. It's just it's like a beef roast, just whatever's cheap, and just make sure you cut it across the grain as thin as you can get it and dry it out. So see what we can do here with this. See what we got here. That's pretty good. I think that's just about what we want. I might hit that again before we throw it in there.
But almost looks like that beef jerky that comes in the skull.
Yes. Yep. Pretty much exactly.
A lot less moisture though.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So now that our meat is ready to go, now we can start on our soot, which is rendered organ fat. So it's very different than what you'll get off the muscle meats that come off your steak and whatnot. That's a lot softer, and it doesn't last as long. It'll go rancid a little faster. So this is what comes off the organs. It's a lot harder. It's here. This is at room temperature until it can kind of break up. And we're just gonna. This is the brand right here, Atora. Ordered 2 of these online through Walmart. They were $18 with free shipping. So this is kind of what you want. You can find steps online to render your own fat. It's quite a process, but if you're looking to make a lot of it and not spend a ton of money, that would probably be the way to go. So we want to go about half and half here.
One of the other things I noticed out at the camp was this melted very easily.
Yeah, I was surprised by that myself. It went a lot faster than I expected. So I'm going to give that a minute, see what that does to it. Probably another minute, and we're ready to mix things together. Okay.
All right, so we're back out.
Yep, there is our melted soot.
Almost looks like butter.
It does, kind of. It actually smells a little like butter, too, right now. So we're just going to mix these things together. I'm going to put this in a Tupperware container. I'm going to line a little bit with some spray just to kind of help keep it from sticking. I mean, it's half fat, but it never hurts. Go just a little more. Okay.
What kind of consistency are we looking for between the fat and the beef?
Well,
like a batter, a peanut butter, or
yeah, it's hard to say. I think you want more of this oatmeal kind of consistency, about like that. You want to do it. Everything I've read recommends doing them equal parts by weight. I didn't feel like actually trying to weigh everything out, so pretty much about like that sort of one, kind of a thick oatmeal kind of thing.
Basically, you want to make sure that everything's encased in the fat.
Right.
Is what you're looking for.
Yep.
Then
Everything wants to be good and covered. So now we can stick that in the fridge, which will just help it to set up a little faster. And when it's done, we're ready to cook with it.
Okay, here we have the final product.
Yep, there's the finished product we made today. Just a soot. I think that's pretty much exactly what we want right there.
Almost has a no-bake cookie
Well, it does.
finish to it.
That's pretty much exactly what it is. Yeah. That's pretty good. Now I'm going to try a chunk of this just the way it is. See how that tastes. That's not bad.
Well-chewed beef jerky?
Well-chewed beef jerky, yeah. It initially doesn't have a lot of taste. You start getting some meat at the back end of it. I could eat that if I needed to. That's not bad.
Very nice.
Yeah.
All right. So here we have what we made out at the camp.
Right. This is our suet cake here that we made out there. It's got just the dried beef and the suet in it. We added dried blackberries to this one, which was common. You could add seeds, dried fruit. It won't keep quite as long with the fruit in it. That will ferment eventually. You're still talking about months, if not years. So that's what we've got right there. So we're going to break this up into chunks, or cut it up into chunks, and then add it to our skillet. And then we're just going to work it down. They're going to make what was called a rousseau in the 18th century. Just a simple meal made with pemmican and found vegetables. I'm going to make the one today with onions and just a can of mixed vegetables.
Found that can in your yard growing wild.
Absolutely,
right?
yeah. Killed it myself. So as you can tell by the lid. I figure your average person doing any camping, hiking, survivalist type situations probably going to have I would assume a can of mixed vegetables somewhere on hand, or just anything you find, potato, carrot, anything. All right, so we've got our meat kind of cooked down here. I'm going to go ahead and add our onions and our can of vegetables. I'll drain the water off of them. I'm just going to stir fry all of that together with salt and pepper.
So here's the finished product. We got it all cooked down.
I added about a teaspoon of flour while it was cooking, just to thicken the moisture in it up a little bit. It looks like our canned vegetables got a little mushy. I don't think it's going to affect the taste at all.
Oh, no, I highly doubt it.
But they did get a little soft, but
All right.
let's give it a try and see how it is here.
So here we are. We're going to try it. And you're braver than me. I had to blow longer.
That's actually really good.
It is.
I could eat that. And with stuff that doesn't need to be kept refrigerated at all.
And you could really, it's something that you could mix in rice really easy with.
Well, actually, some of the recipes that I see call for rice. It's pretty much just anything. Anything you've got available. Rice, flour, seeds, vegetables.
I just hit one of the larger pieces there. Takes a little bit more work to eat, but good. But just
Right.
here you go. Well, some rice, even hardtack to help you scoop it up.
Yeah.
To do something like that, I think would be.
That would be very good. There are recipes that call for ship biscuit, which was just basically a hard
Shift biscuit.
Ship.
Ship biscuit. Okay, even you. All right.
Ships biscuit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we.
And you just break that up into breadcrumbs basically and add it to it. So really about anything.
Well, I can see where if you put this in to a large pot of boiling water and made more of a stew, it would actually be good that way too.
Yeah. I can't imagine anything you'd put in that where it wouldn't come out pretty edible. So
And we could.
I'd say it was a success.
All right. Well, so here we go. A little bit of food storage advice from the 1300s, 1400s,
18th century.
18th century?
So, yeah,
Oh, okay.
1700s. Yeah.
If you're going to go from the Mississippi to the Pacific Ocean, you're set to go.
That's what you need right there.
Yeah, and I want to thank you for walking us through this, and we're definitely going to have you back on one of our other shows talking about the SCA.
Okay.
And I know this is kind of the all linked together.
Yeah.
So it's really good, better than I expected. Actually, I was really kind of incredulous as to, well, so much of this older stuff doesn't have a lot of flavor.
Right.
So.
Well, like they say, England especially, they fought multiple wars over spices and then decided they didn't want any of it. So.
Yeah. Our friend Kevin Blake, talking about beans and bread, that was a big deal. So.
Yeah.
Definitely. And, I'm going to have another piece of this and give it a try at home. So there we are. We went through that whole thing. I know you noticed some things on it that at the time we were working through it. I was a one-man banding it. I had the camera. I was asking the questions.
Yeah.
I was doing all that. And for those of you, my wife was very interested in this because the pemmican itself, the stuff we made at the camp, we made it at the camp, he wrapped it up, came out, and it was not refrigerated, it was anything else. She's like, you ate it? Because I may have a little bit of a history of germ phobia. And so I would like to point out that if this doesn't prove my trust in my friends, it is, because I did eat it, and it was good. I was not faking it. It was not like one of those things you see on TV where people are like, oh, I'm going to say it's good.
I'm going to admit, though, that you did not sound too terribly confident about it until like that second or third bite. And you were like, oh, it's a little extra work, but it was good.
Yeah, and it was surprisingly good for something that was so easy to do.
Right.
I'd read about it. I'd never done it myself before. And I know one of the things you mentioned about was he makes the comment about 50-50.
Right, and that's just where the camera ratio came up.
Yeah.
And he did clarify later on, though, that, about 50-50 of the clean melted suet with the meat on that. And, I did like the little bit about the ship biscuit.
Oh, because I wasn't sure that's what he said when he first said it.
Yeah, I thought he was talking about the things that my horses leave out behind the barn.
So I think some more aromatic vegetables would have really enhanced the flavor. But like you said, that was something that would probably be on your thing. And if you are the kind of person who's last minute running in the store, that may be one of the only things left on the shelf. Yeah. So
I think we need to revisit this with Kevin and maybe do some dehydrated root vegetables and such, and see if we can maybe make a good simple stew or something like that.
Well, definitely it can be whatever you want. Depending on how much it can be very hearty.
Right.
And I'd like to try it with some venison. I'd even like to try it with buffalo, because when I think of this, I think of going out a long trip without refrigeration, without supplies, and you're making it with what you came. So if you shoot a buffalo, you render the organ fat, you dry the meat, put it together. So I don't know, just a curiosity, I'd like to try it with some other kinds of meat and see what it is too.
This deer season, the deer do cross my property right about by my rifle range.
But I want to do some deer hunting. I've never done it before. I want to go, if I have time, I want to go out to Kansas. We've got some property out there where last time we were out there, you could hit the deer with a rock, literally. They knew we were pheasant hunting.
Yeah.
So they just looked at us. They didn't care. Well, what do you want? It's 2 bucks and 3 does. Whatever.
Yeah, I can go pheasant hunt with a 30-30 this year.
Hopefully, no one from the fishing games listens.
I will license myself accordingly.
Well, okay. I said, or what you do is you throw the deer in front of the truck.
Yeah.
And it was suffering. I had to shoot it.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Well, this could get into a morbid scene, but
now, and of course, here in Missouri now, with hitting things with your car, we're having people hit bear, so you can actually maybe get bear to make it with.
Yeah, I've had bear before. It's long strand muscle, so definitely needs a long cooking time, but it might work for pemmican because of the cutting bias against the grain.
Yeah, well, it's definitely a thought. I mean, you're going to eat, in those situations, you're going to eat what you find. Mm-hmm. So it's worth looking at different parts of possibilities. And like I said, it's this whole thing of being able, as he mentioned in there, to store it for long periods of time. Yeah. Even if you're not looking for 10 years, if you're just looking for something that we have the meat today,
right.
We want the meat in 6 months.
Right.
You got away without refrigeration to keep it, and
that's where I think we have a little bit of a responsibility as a prepping show, that maybe we could come up with with the modern Pemmican technique, and maybe do a show, fix some more palatable meals. Because I mean, I don't know how many of our listeners have kids. I've got kids. You've got kids, and sometimes kids can be a little picky. Mm-hmm. And
well, I say my daughter would totally eat what we ate on the video there. Mm-hmm. She would have no problem with it.
Yeah, Elle's fearless.
Yeah, Carter, I'm not so sure about.
You could just make something and then put it in like a Dinty Moore container or in a McDonald's wrapper and hand it to him.
With Carter, the best way to get him to eat something would be to tell him it's made with Spam.
There you go.
The kid will eat. We came home one day. I think I said it before. We came home. He had eaten an entire can of Spam for lunch. And the kid's like this big around. I mean, we have trouble finding clothes that are small enough around the waist and long enough in the legs.
I'm just waiting for him to start turning into one big salt crystal.
Yeah, well, that's what I told him. I said, save time. Just lick the salt.
Yeah.
Just don't even bother with it.
Yeah, I can get him a salt block at the feed store.
So he loves the stuff. We started buying the single serving packs just so we could go. Can I have Spam? You can have a single serving pack, because his thing was, I don't want to store it. I'm going to go ahead and eat the whole can. But anyways, I digress. It's definitely one of those things that, because your canned food, even your freeze dried food, is eventually you either want to supplement it, or it's going to get consumed.
Right.
And so you're going to have to figure out something else in a true thing, or say you get in a situation where you have to make your way home and you don't have all your supplies. All you have is your go bag. Knowing things like this are this. Now, we do need, I think, to follow up with a video on exactly how to render out the fat.
Yeah, on making right. our own suet.
Right. So I think that, and he pointed out in there is a difference between the organ fat and the muscle fat.
The muscular fat, yeah.
So you want the organ fat.
Right. Well, yeah, the soft fat is good for rendering for other uses. Mm-hmm. The soft muscular fat. Then you have the hard organ fat, which is what you make soot out of. Mm-hmm. And then there's the hard white fat that's, again, it's a muscular fat, but it's the hard fat, the tallow, which is, beef tallow is what you use for making soap.
Candles,
soap.
Yeah.
Lots of.
And one of the reasons
lubricate your door glides, whatever you're into.
I shouldn't have been as nervous as I was because it smelled pleasant when it was cooking. Mm-hmm. I was really ready for it to be a throwback to head cheese type thing. And I don't know.
Like taking a bite out of a stick of butter kind of thing.
Well, head cheese, I never actually consumed head cheese. It's one of the few things that I said, no thanks. I would wake up in the morning, my stepfather would be cooking it, and I would just, no breakfast today. Just, the smell's enough. I'm not hungry at all.
South meat, not for you.
Not that way. It was awful. It was smelly. It was just awful. It was, of course, my stepfather is a true German by heritage, and I mean, he likes those strong flavors like that, and I usually do. But when it came to head cheese, I was a no-go.
Oh, I'll take you down for some good Braunschweiger with some stone ground mustard and a sharp cheddar cheese and Braunschweigers.
Well, I grew up in a German community. I mean, the community I grew up in, literally during World War II, they had to sneak the pastor of the Lutheran church out of town because the Klan was threatening to come get him because he was still preaching services in German during World War II. So it was,
wow.
Which is confusing when you think about the Klan today and how highly they respect the Germans now.
Well, there was a diminishment near termination, and then there's this rise of people that are just contrarians and looking for a reason to hate and wanting to back it up with something, and that's, we'll just say that's not just limited to that particular group of idiots.
Right. So it's and when I grew up, I didn't realize I grew up with German potato salad. Mm-hmm. We had potato salad.
Right.
There was no need to call it German potato salad because it was, what else? What other kind of potato salad are you going to have?
Yeah, I grew up with Southern potato salad, and lots of mustard and relish and stuff in there. And the first time I had German potato salad, I was young and had no warning. And so that vinegar kind of took my breath away at first, but I do love me some good German potato salad.
Oh yeah, and it's good, but it's
also weirded me out that it was served warm, not cold. Like potato salad's supposed to be cold, come out of the cooler, be served next to the fried chicken at the Baptist picnic.
Well, the Lutherans were like that. It was fried chicken, German potato salad, and a Jello salad of some sort.
Jello salad, of course. We have baked beans and cornbread and everything, and then the one area on the other side of the parking lot where the people would go drink and everyone else would just ignore it.
Oh, see, I was Lutheran. You don't have to ignore it.
You don't have to ignore it.
No. Okay. Lutherans are like Lutherans. We held our own with Catholics. We just we drink at church. We drink.
See, on the Southern Baptist side, they like their, the front image, and they just acknowledged that the drinking was going on. It was just when you'd had enough of Sister Bertha better than you, then you had to go to the backside of the parking lot, drink a beer real quick, and then come back and get you some more fried chicken.
Well, this is one of those stories that's going to not make it to the YouTube because we're condensing. If you haven't noticed, we're condensing YouTube down to make it shorter because people weren't watching the whole thing.
Right.
This is one of those stories that there's a town out by where I grew up, and it was a little bitty town, and it still is a little bitty town, and they had a church and 2 bars. That's all they had in this town. And at the time, Kansas was no liquor on Sundays, and parts of Kansas still are no liquor on Sundays.
Right.
But these
blue law, isn't it?
Yeah, but the Catholics would still get done. They'd go to the bar on Sunday, and the state of Kansas, you can't do that. That's illegal. So they said, got it. And I don't know both the bars did it. I know one of the bar at one point just decided to leave the back door unlocked on Sundays, and people would come in and they would help themselves and they would write down a piece of paper that I took this much Bud Light and this much this, and then they'd go on and they'd come in Monday and pay for
it. It's nice that they had a functional honor system.
Yeah. But that was just the thing, is it was just so ingrained in the culture that how dare the state stop us from purchasing alcohol on a Sunday? And they finally put a stop to that too, but now, like I said, if your county voted for it, you can have alcohol on Sunday in Kansas. So that's the way I grew up. It was, we used to have street dances in these little towns. Towns would go from 150 population to 1,000, 2,000 people in a night. And when you got done at the end of the night, you would wade through aluminum cans on the streets for the street dances and things like that. And
see, and that's another occasion for prepping. Buy your booze on Friday or Saturday. That way you didn't need to buy booze on Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Or make your own. So we had a big jug of rosebud wine in our storm cellar, and other people made their own versions of stuff. So, and I'm actually thinking about getting a beer making kit, trying it out. Who knows?
We need to maybe do some wine making, some beer making.
Well, that taste test will be a show. That'll
reaction videos.
We'll probably need a director for that one.
we can hit the buttons. Hit the green one, Jeff. Hit the green one.
So it's just some ideas, but once again, those stories will not be in the YouTube version.
No, because it's got to be shorter for the attention spans and all that.
So, but we want to thank Kevin for coming on and helping us. We want to go back, and I thought the first version was pretty chunky, but it was still tasty. Yeah. I want to eventually taste the one that he made while we were there, the much finer grind,
Right.
I guess you could call it. And definitely hope you got some information you can use. If you want to try it out, let us know how it works out. Jeff at J2cast.com, Jesse at J2cast.com. As always, don't forget to take a look at our Patreon. If you're on Facebook, I'm going to repost the link on there. You can support the podcast, keep us our heads above water, as we're going to make some changes here coming up, and we're wanting you to be part of it. We've got different levels. We've got Todd Miller, now our co-producer on the show, for his contribution. On up to $100. You do $100, you get to come in, you get to rub Jesse's head. We'll buy you pizza, maybe set you up with a beer or beverage of your choice.
I'll even let you touch the beard.
Yeah, which, by the way, is
filling in. I got slowed down by about a week because I had to trim everything back down to a standardized length because I had a little configuration issue that had an effect on this side. After I'm a little bit more cautious about the facial hair now, but yeah, it was.
So with bad. The gray down here, you're definitely getting a Connery look.
You're not the first person that said that,
you really
and I appreciate it. And I will be working on the accent for $100 a month. I will make myself do the accent.
I did. You just at this length. Now, if it gets any longer, I don't know if it still will look like that.
Yeah, I want some viewer input on this. Because I had an idea about maybe letting the beard go at least until the end of like November, and then trim it back down. I want some viewer input. What do they want to see out of the beard? But Patreon, what he was saying.
You get to come in and you get to do that. If that's for $100 a month, I mean, I know not everybody can do it. Even if it's $1 a month, if everybody that currently listens to the show, that either on YouTube or on the podcast, if everyone were to give us $1 a month, it would be the difference in the show would be amazing because we could have help.
Yes.
We could. I wouldn't have to hit the buttons on my little screen up here.
Hit the green ones, Jeff.
Yeah. So it's just some things we're going to advance. We're looking at some new ways of doing sound, new ways of doing cameras, and we're also wanting to branch out and do more interviews. Have people like Chris Weatherman, Frank Horton back on, branch out into some other authors.
Some more how-to videos. Doing some energy production videos, things like that.
And so we want to make all that happen, and you can help us by heading on over to Patreon. If nothing else, go to Google, search, look up Patreon, and then look up J2cast. It'll come up, I guarantee you. So we want to thank you for being here today. We're going to be back next week with another episode, and we're still
episode
deciding.
49 next week.
Yeah, and we'll have to do something special for 50. Yeah. But we'll be back with that, and also be sure to check out, I believe, unless I'm wrong, and I'll edit this out if I am, we'll be doing a battle box review.
Yes.
So we've decided we're succumbing to the pressure of wanting to talk about it without calling it Rattle Rocks, even though they haven't started supporting us yet.
Not yet.
Because I still got hope for you. So we're gonna be doing that, and I'm sure we got other stuff coming up.
We got a lot. We got all sorts of crazy stuff coming up.
Real quick, if you haven't checked out the Fracture Point podcast, if you're a geek, if you like movies, you like sci-fi, you like comics, you like all this stuff going on right now, we have one with our friend Micah Roth. It was kind of his.
If you want a geek podcast that's not being done by a bunch of 12-year-olds
or hot chicks. There's a couple of those.
We have our limitations.
Yeah. But this is Micah's baby. He's doing a good job at it, and we're just helping him out. So we've got one out. We've got the first one that was kind of an overview of what we wanted to look at, and the next one was the Star Wars release, and we've got another one coming up that I'm not going to tell you about what it is yet. And
it's a secret.
Check those out. If you're a geek, if you're not a geek, you probably won't like it, so don't bother with it. But check that out. You can still give us ideas for that one at the same addresses. And, of course, always the phone number, 417-553-3716. Leave your voicemail, compliments, not compliments, ideas, whatever you got. And we'll be more than happy to respond to them, maybe even use them on the show. So in the meantime, you take care of yourselves.
Be safe, and God bless.